Welcome to episode 96 of the Fit Strong Women Over 50 podcast. Hi, I'm Chris. Welcome to the podcast for the Becoming Ellie community, where we focus on fitness, health, food for women over 50.
Hello, and I'm Jill. Some of you might be wondering why this community is called Becoming Ellie. Well, Ellie was the Norse goddess of aging who, when challenged to a wrestling match with Thor, surprised everyone by winning. Chris and I decided that we wanted to be fit and strong too, just like Ellie.
We also decided to share that effort with all of you. We created a website, becomingellie.com, with many free articles. And we also started a private Facebook group where we can share our accomplishments together and ask each other for help and inspiration.
If you go to the Becoming Ellie website, you can find some things to help you with your journey to being fit and strong. We have some mantras to help you and an ebook of some of our favorite recipes. Feel free to explore the website and find a variety of resources.
Besides the website, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and Instagram. We'd love to hear from you at whatever social media place you prefer. I'm really excited to talk with our guest today because she is all about fitness and nutrition. I know I'm going to get inspired.
Let's go to the podcast.
Amanda Nighbert is a registered dietitian who specializes in weight loss nutrition. She is also an avid fitness enthusiast.
Amanda is passionate about empowering people to break the all or nothing mindset. She wants us to find out how to make changes that are sustainable and let us find long-term weight loss success.
She has worked in the weight loss field for over 20 years to help thousands of people reach their wellness goals, but is a strong believer that dieting is temporary and it's more important to focus on lifestyle changes to see long-term weight loss success.
She offers a custom LEAN program. LEAN stands for Living Energized and Nourished. Coaching services and a variety of other offerings to give us the tools and resources to find our best selves. She also gave a TED Talk in March 2021 on this topic. She is enthusiastic about helping others. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
We're just delighted that you can talk to us today. I'm going to just start off with, what does it mean to live an energized and nourished life? And how do you help people with your LEAN program?
Yeah. So again, I'm a registered dietitian. I've actually been working in the field of weight loss for over 20 years, first in a clinical hospital setting. And then about 4 years ago, transitioned to kind of this online space. And you know, what I have found with my experience over the years is that we just make nutrition really complicated. And really my goal is to simplify healthy eating. And when you take all the, confusion out of what it means to eat healthy, people start to feel more energized and more nourished. That's really my main goal, is just simplifying nutrition.
As a registered dietitian, you probably get a lot of questions regarding menopause and weight loss. As our podcast is for women over 50 who want to be fit and strong, what factors need to be overcome to lose weight and keep it off for women going through perimenopause or already in menopause?
Yes, this is a question I get every single day. And, I'm 44, so I'm right knocking on the door of your, client base there. So I understand what it means to start going through the changes that we women experience. But here's the deal. Honestly, I think a lot of women use menopause as an excuse to not make progress with their health and wellness. And I think that they use it as a crutch for, immediate defeat. And in reality, just because we're aging doesn't mean that we can't be vibrant. It doesn't mean we can't be lean and strong. It doesn't mean that we can't be our healthiest self. So when I'm working with clients that are premenopause, menopausal, postmenopausal, honestly, the things that I encourage them to do are not much different than the things that I encourage all my clients to do. And that is foundational work. You have to focus on your foundation before you can really move forward with your overall health. And so the things that impact women the most as they age, I'm just going to list them off and we can dive deep into them in more detail if you wish, are number one, first and foremost, sleep. Your sleep matters. Yeah. So getting quality recuperative sleep is so imperative for your long-term health and wellness and your ability to lose weight, especially as we age. Number two, reducing inflammation. I see a lot of women as they age, they tend to eat a little bit more sugar. We tend to drink a little bit more wine. So, consuming those really high inflammatory foods are going to make weight loss and feeling your best a lot harder. Number three, muscle mass, strength training, body composition. Women love to burn calories on the treadmill. And the number one reason why our metabolism slows as we age is sarcopenia, the loss of muscle mass. So one of the things that you can do to really ensure that you maintain a healthy metabolism or improve your metabolism, because that is possible, is to build lean muscle mass. So body composition, sleep and recovery, and inflammation are really the big things that we want to focus on as we age.
Wow, there's a lot there. Thank you.
Well, let's actually talk about those things. What do you recommend for sleep?
Yeah, so sleep is, really tricky. A lot of women have sleep apnea and don't even realize it. It's very underdiagnosed in women. So being able to quantify your sleep is really powerful. I wear an Oura Ring. Maybe your Apple Watch is another good way, but having an ability to look at a sleep score can be really powerful to understand how your sleep quality is. I know for me, I struggle to get to sleep, but once I get to sleep, I have really good restorative sleep, pending some lifestyle issues. But my husband, he lays his head on the pillow and is asleep in 30 seconds, but he has really bad sleep score, probably due to sleep apnea, snoring, waking up in the middle of the night. So just because you fall asleep and don't wake up doesn't mean that you're getting that restorative sleep that you need. One of the biggest things that impacts my sleep score and my client's sleep score is alcohol. And alcohol is just one of those big things that has so many hits against you, okay? I'm of the mindset that there is nothing healthy about alcohol. Now, I'm not a teetotaler either. I am definitely drinking a couple of glasses of wine throughout the week. But when I'm able to actually see how alcohol impacts my sleep and recovery, it makes me not want to drink every night. That one glass of wine can really have an impact on your sleep and recovery. So some tips to help you sleep better. One of the most powerful things to help set your circadian rhythm is sun exposure first thing in the morning, light exposure first thing in the morning. So if you have the ability to get up and get outside within 30 to 60 minutes of waking, it really helps to set your melatonin for the night to come. So that's a habit that I'm trying to implement. I get up, I make my coffee, and I take a lap around the block while I drink my coffee. Maybe it's just sitting outside on your porch, but take your sunglasses off. If you walk your dog, don't wear your sunglasses. That early morning light exposure is really powerful. Number two, try to go to bed and wake up at the same time every day. It matters. Number three, create a healthy sleep environment, a cold room, comfortable bedding, dark space. And then number four, limit electronics and distractions, within an hour before bed. If you are on your computer, on your phone, watching TV, consider using some blue blocker glasses to really help filter out that negative light that's going to help reduce your melatonin production.
Does TV have blue light too?
Yeah,
it does.
I didn't realize that so much of it is your eyes. Like one thing that you just said is take your sunglasses off. I'm always wearing my sunglasses because, I don't know, I have light blue eyes and it hurts. But I didn't realize that that's where the sunlight needs to go, in my eyes.
In your eyeballs, yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, some people are like, well, don't stare at the sun. That's bad for your eyes. That's not what I'm saying,
I couldn't do that if I wanted to.
And that's the thing is like, sometimes people are like, well, I can't get sun exposure because I got to drive to work. And I'm like, well, take your sunglasses off, in a safe manner. I mean, obviously if they're blinding you, but even driving to work without your sunglasses, again, or walking the dog. Yeah, it's very much about the light filtering through your eyeballs.
So it's not just through the skin.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be direct. It doesn't have to be sunbeams. Again, it's just being outside and those sun wavelengths, being able to enter your eyes make a huge difference.
It impacts your circadian rhythms, and that's very helpful. Now, what about reducing inflammation? You mentioned sugar and alcohol, but there's lots of things, right?
Yeah, lots of things. I work with a lot of women who struggle with abdominal fat. They're like, I've never had a belly. And then all of a sudden I went through menopause and I've got this kind of belly. And that's a classic sign of inflammation. Everything that we're dealing with regards to chronic illness, joint pain, skin issues, acid reflux, heartburn, inability to lose weight, bloating, it all comes down to inflammation. So I find a lot of times when clients focus on more about what they eat versus how much they eat, that inflammation is so much better addressed. So foods that have the most inflammation at the very top are going to be sugar and alcohol. And when I talk about sugar, I'm not talking about fruit. I'm talking about donuts and cupcakes. I think if you crave sugar, you should be eating a lot of fruit. Most of the time, sugar cravings are not necessarily the need for sugar. It is the need for micronutrients. Okay, so macronutrients are carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Micronutrients are vitamins and minerals. And most Americans are overfed and undernourished. When you elevate your food choices to incorporate tons of fruits and vegetables, you find that a lot of your cravings kind of go away. So alcohol and sugar. Number 2 is going to be, gluten and dairy. We tend to focus on cow dairy. Goat and sheep products are less inflammatory. Gluten tends to have a little bit more of obviously a higher inflammatory impact. And here's the deal. I'm not a teetotaler about anything. And the biggest thing that I teach in my program, Lean, is progress, not perfection. And we really try to implement the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, we're aiming to be gluten, dairy, alcohol, sugar-free. 20% of the time, we're eating whatever the heck we want. So you don't have to be 100% free of these foods in order to see significant improvement in how you feel, you sleep, and how your body responds. Even cutting back 50% will make a huge impact. 2 other things I'd like to mention with regards to inflammation: seed oils, PUFAs. A lot of people are not talking about polyunsaturated fatty acids. Canola oil, soybean oil, grapeseed oil, kind of the list goes on and on and on and on. And these oils are highly inflammatory, and they're used in large quantities in the standard American diet. If you're eating at a restaurant, every single morsel of food you put in your mouth, other than a piece of lettuce, is going to have a PUFA in it. If you're buying packaged food, 90% of the packaged food that you buy on the shelves is going to have polyunsaturated fatty acids in it. Switching to healthier fats, avocado oil, coconut oil, organic butter, organic ghee. Those are some of my favorites. Olive oil can really help reduce inflammation in the body. And then the last thing I'll mention is just conventionally raised animal products. Animals get a really bad rap, and I think animal protein is extremely vital for women as we age. However, conventionally raised animals are very inflammatory. They are fed high doses of PUFAs. And so we get even more of these polyunsaturated fatty acids when we eat conventional meat. So if you have the resources to source local, grass-fed, grass-finished, pasture-raised, organic animal products, I encourage you to do so.
And then the other thing that you mentioned was muscle mass with strength building. Can you go in more detail about that? Because that really needs to be mentioned.
Yeah, sarcopenia, which is the loss of muscle mass. So again, as we age, we will lose muscle mass. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, we're not eating adequate protein. Our protein needs significantly increase as we age because our body's ability to utilize protein is much less. All right. So for example, when you're 20 and you eat 20 grams of protein, you utilize 19 to 20 grams of that protein. But when you're 60 and you eat 20 grams of protein, you may only utilize 14 to 15 grams of that protein. So because your utilization rate is less, you need more. And what do we stop eating as we age? We stop eating protein. So that's a huge one. You're going to lose muscle mass if you're not getting adequate protein. I always say protein is the most important macronutrient for weight loss. Typically, when I hone in and get my clients focusing on adequate protein intake, they start to see better weight loss results. Number two is we stop strength training. We think taking a walk, or we think running and biking, and, we think looking at our Apple Watch and seeing those calories burned means more than lifting weights. And here's the thing, squatting is lifting weights. We're lifting our body weight, but even weight overload, holding, 10-pound weights, 15-pound weights, even better. But emphasizing the importance of strength training to build muscle mass over cardiovascular exercise is really important as we age.
Cardio is fun, right?
Maybe it's just human nature. We like the cardio, we like the carbs, don't like the protein, and the strength training is a challenge.
I feel like, yes, when I go for a run, I do feel like, man, I burned more calories. I got more out of that than when I lift weights in the gym. But in reality, that workout in the gym benefits you for up to 36 hours after you finished it. Whereas that run benefits you while you're running. Once you're done running, the benefits are pretty much gone.
You mentioned about protein and the macros. Do you encourage counting macros?
I'm a huge believer of macro management. I think it creates what I call nutritional awareness. I work with so many women who say, Amanda, I eat healthy, I eat organic, I eat vegan, I'm doing all the right things, yet I still can't lose weight. And at the end of the day, what you eat adds up. And for so many women, it adds up to the wrong ratios. Like you mentioned, most likely you're not consuming enough protein. Most likely you're over consuming carbohydrates. And that's why you can't lose weight. So I'm a huge fan. I don't think that tracking your food is sustainable. I don't think that it's something that I don't encourage my clients to do it forever. But when they do it in my 7-week program, again, they start to figure out what foods have a better balance that they typically use and what foods they could do better with. So I think it's a very powerful strategy. We're so focused on looking at calories, especially this generation, because we're the Weight Watcher girls, right?
Right.
Yeah. So we're so used to looking at points and we're so used to looking at calories that most women in this age group don't even know what macros are. They don't know what their protein goal should be. So shifting to that better nutritional awareness, again, just creates such better results. Calories in versus calories out is not key. What you eat matters.
That's great. Do you have certain tools that you use for keeping track of macros when you're first?
Well, there's a lot of macro trackers out there. I mean, my program, Lean, Living Energized and Nourished, it's all run through my private app, my free private app. So I have a tracker in my app. I calculate my clients' specific calories because everyone's calories needs are different. Your caloric needs are based on your height, your weight, your age, your gender, your activity level. I can't just say, oh, we all need 80 protein a day, because it will vary from person to person. But there's quite a few tracking apps out there, Chronometer, MyFitnessPal, Nutrinex is probably my favorite. I just would say I would not take macro advice from those apps because they notoriously underestimate your needs. I would just look for a simple BMR calculator, which will set you up just some general guidelines.
Gotcha. We hear a lot about intermittent fasting these days. I was wondering, could you identify myths and facts about intermittent fasting for our listeners? Is that something that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I love intermittent fasting. And I always say, as a dietitian, I had to put my hand on my diploma and say breakfast is the most important meal of the day. For a dietitian to actually be supporting skipping breakfast, I think is a pretty powerful message to how beneficial intermittent fasting can be.
You could still eat breakfast at lunchtime, right?
You sure can. You sure can. Yes, that's absolutely right. We eat breakfast at dinner and we call it Brenner. And it's the best meal of the week. Yeah. So yeah, intermittent fasting is really hot right now. Super buzzword. Lots of people are talking about it, doing it. And the reason why it's so popular right now is because in 2016, the Nobel Prize was won for the discovery of autophagy. And it was at that moment that somebody, basically quantified that there are powerful benefits in not eating. And that pretty much goes against everything we've been taught since the first nutritional guidelines, where that they're telling us you got to eat 6 small meals a day and you got to keep your metabolism revving. So once this kind of science came out, tons of research was then started on the power of autophagy and how it could be implemented into multiple different medical applications. And since then, the science says, wow, it is awesome. It's helpful at preventing dementia. It's helpful at treating cancer. It's helpful with diabetes and hypertension. Like the list goes on and on. So that's why we're hearing so much about intermittent fasting. Now, there's so many different ways to implement intermittent fasting. And as your listeners, I always say every single person that's watching me, from your 1-year-old to your 101-year-old, should absolutely be fasting for at least 12 hours a day, period. And when we look at it, that should feel pretty doable. You have your last meal, let's say at 7 or 8, and you have your first meal at 7 or 8 in the morning. And when we look at our traditional eating patterns prior to 6 small meals a day, history shows that we had breakfast at 8, lunch at 12:30, and dinner at 5. All right. And we were done. There was no snacking between meals. I mean, again, I'm 44. I remember coming home from high school, asking my mom for a snack, and she'd hit my hand and say, no, you're going to ruin your dinner.
Oh, yeah. We used to hear that all the time. You're going to ruin your dinner.
That's right.
You're going to ruin your dinner. Yeah. Now it's like if we don't feed our kids every 2 to 3 hours, they're going to die. And then we wonder why they don't sit down and eat chicken and broccoli. Well, they just had a bowl of goldfish an hour ago. So this whole snacking has just absolutely ruined us. And ultimately, we need to get back to more structure like we were doing. And at that time, we were fasting for at least 12 to 14 hours. We just didn't call it that. Okay. It was just life back then. I always think 12 hours is where everyone should be to begin with. Now, absolutely benefit of extending your fast to 14 to 16 hours. The fasting strategy that I teach in my program is the 16-8, where we fast for 16 hours and we eat for 8 hours. But it's very flexible. Again, I hate black and white guidelines. I like there to be, some leeway. So my clients are encouraged to fast anywhere between 12 and 16 hours every day. And then basically the thing about intermittent fasting, I think the biggest myth about intermittent fasting is that you're just starving yourself. I still eat 2,200 calories. I just do it between 12 and 8 every day. So it's not about what you eat. It's more about when you eat. Other myths of fasting is it will slow down your metabolism. No, it won't. It actually can speed up your metabolism. The processes in the body in that fasted state, we evolved to be very efficient and very productive in a fasted state. If not, we never would have made it because there wasn't a McDonald's on every corner back when the cavemen were here. So our body has the ability to release growth hormone in the morning in a fasted state, give us adrenaline, manage our hunger hormones. That's why a lot of people wake up and they're like, I'm not hungry. If I could go till 1 or 2 before I get hungry. Well, there's a process for that. And typically, if you do wake up extremely hungry, it's not a hunger issue. It's typically an electrolyte issue, a sodium, potassium, magnesium issue, or it's just an overall diet issue. Again, an imbalance of too many carbs, not enough proteins and fats to kind of fill you up and keep you full. I'll answer any questions you have about fasting. I'm just going to give you a couple of tips on how to implement fasting. So again, I say ease into it, start with 12 hours and then ease into a 14, 16-hour fast. what you can do during your fast is you can drink all the water, you can drink all the tea, black tea, herbal tea, ideally with nothing in it, and all the black coffee you want. We call that the valedictorian of fasting. But a lot of people are like, Amanda, I ain't drinking black coffee, so can I not fast? And the answer is no, not necessarily. So the next level of fasting would be 40 calories or less. So if you wanted to put a little cream in your coffee, if you want to put a little almond milk, a little stevia, as long as it's 40 calories or less, it will typically not break your fast, and you'll still get a ton of benefits from fasting.
But if you're going to do it, ideally, it would be better to do it with black coffee.
Well, if you're going to be a purist, and you're going to be an A+ student, and you're going to be the valedictorian, yes. If you're okay being an A- student.
Well, I guess it depends on where you are in your, trying to get healthy journey, right?
Exactly. So when I first started fasting, I did not drink coffee in the morning. I drank chocolate creamer with a splash of coffee in the morning. So for me to do black coffee was not going to happen,
right?
And that would ultimately dissuade me from even trying. So when I was told, I was like, when someone said, try 40 calories or less, I worked my way to 40 calories or less. And I did that for probably a year and a half. And then slowly, because I am a little type A, I wanted to be the valedictorian of fasting. I slowly worked my way up to black coffee. And now I drink black coffee, which is just mind-blowing to me. So that's exactly right, Chris, in terms of any of these strategies that I speak about. I want you guys to recognize that you have to start somewhere, and you gotta work your way up to it, because something is always better than nothing.
It's amazing, because I have struggled with the whole coffee thing and cream, and how hard that coffee, if you like, my parents always drank black coffee, but I was always pouring cream, putting sugar in it. And my mother would say, it's so much easier if you just drink it black. But,
that's how I started to learn to like it black. I started my own business in 1998. And when I'd go to a new client's office and they would say, would you like a coffee? You always say yes. And how do you take it? And of course, then they'd use this creamer, and it was horrible. That powdered creamer.
Powdered, yeah.
And one time I drank it and I breathed in the creamer in the back of my throat, and I about gagged myself. And that was the last day that I had any cream and milk. I thought, you know what? I'm just going to learn to drink it black, because it's so much easier, which it's not about taste, because let's face it, cream and sugar and all that does taste pretty good.
Yeah.
Once you get used to it, you just don't let yourself go back.
The key to black coffee is good coffee. That's the key to black coffee.
Okay.
I have understood that when I went to drinking black coffee, and I haven't been doing black coffee all that long, but yes, you really notice.
Well, you can really taste the coffee.
Yes, the bitterness. I invest in good coffee.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. So when people come to you, your clients, how do you adapt for eating a certain way if they come to you and they say they're vegan or paleo or whatever?
I am of the mindset that regardless of what eating style you prefer, it all comes down to macro balance, macro management. So that's the nice part about, again, my approach. I'm not going to force you to be paleo. I'm not going to force you to be vegan. I'm not going to force you to eat foods that don't just feel authentic to you and your lifestyle. For example, I work with a lot of people that travel or used to travel when that was the thing, and they're forced to eat out and eat on the go. And again, when you look at a macro approach, you're able to really adapt to really any environment. I will say that there are handfuls of people, for example, my vegan, vegetarian clients, it's very eye-opening because it's really hard to hit your protein goal as a vegan. It's really hard, or vegetarian, it's really hard to hit your protein goal and manage your carbohydrates because all of your protein sources are very high in carbs. And for many, it's very eye-opening to see why they're struggling, why their energy sucks, why they're not sleeping well, simply because they've omitted this entire food group. I aim to be plant-based. 75% of the food that I eat is plants. But I think quality animal protein is really important for women, especially as we age. Again, I think people adopt these type of eating patterns because of like a documentary on Netflix. And I'm like, honey, okay, don't take nutritional advice from Netflix, okay? So they think that they're doing good based on, what they think is right. And ultimately, they're probably doing more harm. So again, I think it's just a matter of understanding why you're eating a certain way and making sure that even if that's the way you choose to eat, because, you love animals and you hate animal cruelty and all of that jazz, that you at least find a way to make your macros work. Because this is what I say. I was like, I don't care where you get your protein, but we all have the same protein needs.
There's been several foods that have gotten a bad rap. Maybe like salt, red meat, eggs. For me, I love eggs. And, every so often I hear about cholesterol in eggs or butter or things like that. As a registered dietitian, do you steer your clients away from those types of foods or?
Heck no. Those are the foods you should be eating. For example, I'm a salt. I don't know if you follow me on social media, but I talk so much about salt. Most people feel like crap throughout their day and throughout their life because you're not getting enough salt. I'm a huge proponent of electrolytes, sodium, potassium, and magnesium. Absolute must for your listeners. Read the Salt Fix. It will change your life. Low sodium diets do extremely more harm than high sodium diets. And again, it's just basically, once you read that book, you see how those guidelines were developed, how they were, significantly determined to be wrong, but we were so far down the rabbit hole, we couldn't go back. So like one of my passions is to educate people on the importance of sodium in their diet. Same thing with eggs. Cholesterol in food has absolutely zero impact on your blood cholesterol levels. Eat the heck out of the eggs. Eggs are a superfood. They're low to choline, which most people need. Same with red meat. The issue with red meat, it's not the red meat, it's how the cow was grown, what the cow was fed that makes it more inflammatory than not. So if you have a grass-fed, grass-finished piece of steak, it's higher in omega-3 fatty acids. It's higher in CLA, which is a powerful metabolic stimulator. It helps reduce diabetes and reduce heart disease versus conventionally raised cattle, which is higher in PUFAs, which are really bad for you, and lower in omega-3. So you can't just say that, eggs are bad, red meat is bad, salt is bad. You kind of have to quantify that. But a lot of that old school butter, oh my gosh, we can actually trace the reduction of the consumption of butter and the increase in the consumption of margarine with obesity, heart disease, and diabetes. I've been talking about eat butter. I call myself the renegade dietitian when I worked in the hospital because I was the dietitian walking around with butter, eggs, and bacon with my broccoli and lettuce and fruit and all that, where all the other dietitians were walking around with spray butter and margarine and fake eggs. And I went home about a year ago and my mom still had margarine in her refrigerator. I'm like, do you not listen to a thing I say? Why are you still eating this hydrogenated oil, which is so bad for you? So, another statement that I would always make is think about your great-great-grandmother. All right. She had a, block of butter on her table. She had a bucket of quality lard by her stove. She ate eggs and bacon every morning, and she probably smoked and drank whiskey and lived to be 99 years old. So there's a lot to say about the way we were eating and, how healthy we were. And then we pulled all that stuff out and we just got really sick.
Yeah. Electrolytes. Do you have a recommendation on how we get electrolytes?
Yeah. More people struggle with high blood pressure due to low potassium intake than high sodium intake. It's very interesting. So I'm actually a huge proponent of electrolyte add-ins. Every single morsel of water that I drink has electrolyte add-ins. I love the brand Ultima. The Noon tabs, NUUN tabs are another ones. Even like Smart Water, Life Water, Essentia, those are electrolyte enhanced waters. But if I get Smart Water, I'm going to add even more electrolytes to it. So there's a lot of electrolyte products out there right now to choose from. I just try to stay away from the ones that are higher in sugar. So there's a really popular one called Liquid IV. It's touted as, a great electrolyte source, which it is, but it's also got a lot of sugar in it. And I try to avoid that.
Okay.
So if I'm looking for an electrolyte, like my electrolytes have 0 calories. That's kind of what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you. What's a normal week look like for you or for your clients? Is there a certain day of the week that you suggest people do meal prep, plan, shopping, the actual living your life?
Living energized and nourished.
Yes. What's that look like?
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of meal preparation. I mean, those who fail to plan to fail. So I typically encourage my clients, myself included. If you follow me on social media, you'll see me prepping every Sunday. I tend to prep one big lunch that I'll eat kind of all week long. So I'll make a big batch of chicken salad I eat for the next 3 to 4 days. I'll make a big batch of, chicken veggie soup that I'll eat for the next 4 days. I'll make mason jar salads that I eat for the next 4 days. So I kind of pick one lunch and eat that. And then I'll go ahead and pre-roast vegetables, pre-cook chicken, pre-cook my protein, just anything that's going to help me kind of get meals on the dinner table fast and easy. Because I'm busy. I've got my own business. I've got 2 very active children. I don't have an hour and a half every night to be cooking. So I have to make it simple. So that is one thing that I, encourage my clients to do a little meal prep on Sunday.
Well, we've been talking a little bit about your lean online program, and I'm wondering if someone has physical challenges like diabetes, autoimmune disease, fatty liver, high cholesterol, all those different problems. Do you recommend that they use your lean program, or, is it suitable for someone who's struggling with some health challenges?
Yes, because they're not special. And that's the problem, is that people are like, oh, I have fatty liver. I need to be doing this very special program. No, you don't. You need to be eating lots of vegetables. You need to be eating fruit. You need to be hitting your protein goal. You need to be focusing on whole food nutrition. You need to be reducing your inflammation. You need to be prioritizing your sleep. And so that's what I love about my program is I work on the foundational stuff. And when you focus on foundation, guess what? Your hemoglobin A1C improves. I actually just posted a testimony on my social media where a gal joined my program August the 23rd. Her hemoglobin A1C, that's a diabetes measure, if people don't know what that is, was 7.1. 8 weeks later, her hemoglobin A1C was 5.8.
Oh, wow.
That's great.
8 weeks. She made that reduction. She lost about 25 pounds. Diabetes, hypertension, PCOS, thyroid, anything that you're struggling with, it's all an inflammatory issue. And when you focus on inflammation and you focus on whole food nutrition and balancing out your macronutrients for weight loss and for overall health and wellness, it addresses everything. There's really, I would say, no one that would ever reach out to, because trust me, every day someone reaches out to me. Amanda, I have diabetes. Can I do your program? Hey, I've got Hashimoto's. Can I do your program? Hey, I'm menopausal. Can I do your program? It's very rare that I will say to someone, this is not a great fit.
Your lean program begins with a prep week. Is that what I read on your website?
Yeah. So it's a 7-week program. And the first week I call prep week because, as you guys mentioned, I actually was able to present on the TEDx stage in March. And I presented on the topic about the number one reason why dieters fail. And that's based on my 20 years experience. And it is very simply the all or nothing mindset. And I see over and over people would start lean or start a program, and within the first 24 hours, they give up. And they give up because they couldn't do it all. And so they thought, if I can't do it all, if I can't fast, if I can't track, if I can't, get rid of gluten and dairy, if I can't do these workouts, then it's not worth doing anything. I decided to make my first week prep week because it takes the pressure off of my clients to feel like they have to be perfect. And I tell them, this is the week that we use to learn. This is the week we use to experiment, to fail, to succeed. And then we're going to start 100% on Monday. And just taking that pressure off, the need to be perfect on day one, just really helps with people's mindset. And it gives me a chance to teach them the why behind what I do, and therefore encourage them to slowly work to implement these strategies.
Yeah, that's where a lot of us, I didn't eat what I was supposed to eat today, so I'm just going to spend the rest of the week binge eating on junk.
I blew it already. So.
That's called the might as well thinking. Yes. And
might as well. Yeah.
Might as well. And again, when you listen to my talk, I give 3 strategies on ways to break the all or nothing mindset. And that's number 2. Go into work Friday morning. There's a box of hot, fresh donuts. And you try really hard to resist because donuts do not currently align with your health and wellness goals. But you end up having a few. And for so many, that flips the might as well thinking. Well, I just blew it. I had 3 donuts, so I might as well have pizza for lunch, and I might as well have nachos and beer for dinner because, there's no making up for that. And for so many others, because it's Friday, it turns into I might as well just eat like an a-hole for the rest of the weekend and start fresh on Monday. And what people have to realize is that one morning of donuts did not make or break your success. It's what you chose to do after the morning of donuts that does. So here's a tip. The next time you find yourself at the end of a meal that doesn't align with your current health and wellness goals, instead of saying might as well, make every effort to reset immediately. Your ability to reset at the next meal is what creates exactly what you need for long-term success. And that is consistency.
That reminds me too, during the next few weeks, we have several holidays coming up with the central theme of eating. So here in the United States, the days are shorter, the nights are longer, and the weather's getting colder. How do you help motivate your clients when keeping the weight off can be particularly challenging?
That's a great question. And I want everyone to think about this. So we look at November and December as a constant holiday. Okay. We make choices about the foods we eat based on these holidays. But when we look at it, okay, so if we look at November and December, 30 days each, 31 days, whatever, it equals about 180 meals if we eat 3 meals a day. And we are basing our health and wellness and our ability to make healthy choices on about 4 or 5 meals. All right. It's like, I can't do well in December because of Christmas. Well, Christmas is just 1 meal, and it goes back to that kind of might as well thinking. I'm going to blow it on Christmas Eve, New Year's, Thanksgiving, maybe even a couple of days around that. But you got a lot of other meals that you can focus on staying on track so you don't have to blow it throughout this next 2 months. So I just like to mention that because I think it really puts it in perspective of how silly we are about this time of year and the impact that it could potentially have on our health and wellness. Now, the average American does gain 3 to 5 pounds over the holidays. It's a fact. And the number one thing that I'm encouraging my current clients to do through November and December is maintenance, is to focus on maintaining. Okay. Don't gain 3 to 5 pounds. And you're already 3 to 5 pounds ahead of everybody else come January 1. Here's the problem is we're so wrapped up on where we want to go that we don't focus enough on where we are and realize the importance of staying there first and foremost. When you lose 10 pounds, but you have 10 more pounds to lose, if you only focus on that next 10 pounds and you don't remember and focus on the 10 pounds that you just lost, you turn around and after Christmas, guess what? Now you got 20 pounds to lose because you gained that 10 pounds back. So maintenance is really key. And maintenance is hard because you have to work nearly as hard to sustain your weight loss as you do to get it off. And that's why I always encourage clients, when you do really unrealistic, unsustainable things to lose weight, most likely you're going to gain it back because whatever you do to lose the weight is what you have to do to keep it off. So come January, when you sign up for a shake program where you drink 6 shakes a day for 40 days, yeah, you're going to lose weight. But if you can't drink 6 shakes a day for the rest of your life, you're probably going to gain it back. So kind of keep that in mind. So I think maintenance is key throughout these 2 months, focusing on staying where you are and not backsliding. And again, just recognizing progress, not perfection. I use a habit tracker with my clients a lot. I actually have one that I can share with your listeners. I'll share the link. You can put in the show notes. And it allows them to quantify their effort. Let's take alcohol, for example. Anytime you want to move forward, you want to aim for 80-20. 70-30, 60-40, 50-50 is probably going to be more maintenance. And then anything below that potentially will lead to weight gain. So depending on what your goal is, when we look at alcohol in a 30-day period, it's not Friday and Saturday. Okay, that's 8 days out of the month. It's 6 days. So you have to give up alcohol one Friday or one Saturday or one Saturday a month. So when you really start to kind of make the ticks on your tracker, you can get to the end of the month and you say, I did darn good. I only drank 30% of the time. Good for me. Or you'll say, I did really bad. I drank 60% of the time. So I love tracking habits. Throughout the month of November and December, I'm really encouraging my clients to focus on healthy habits like sun exposure first thing in the morning, taking a walk after meals. Walking after meals really impacts your blood sugar regulation. Focusing on whole food nutrition, but eating as much as you want of vegetables and fruits and animal protein. Things like that, limiting alcohol, getting your workouts in, making sleep a priority, those kind of things that are a little bit easier to focus on than necessarily like calorie counting.
I'm sort of embarrassed to even say this, but that was just an eye-opening thing that when people say 80-20, that you could actually figure out if you're doing 80-20. I always just sort of think of that as like, okay, that means you can do this some of the time, but you could actually track it.
You can actually quantify it. Absolutely.
Oh my.
That's how you can hide from the math or actually make it work in your favor. So yeah, we'll have to link to that tracker in the show notes.
Absolutely. It's a great exercise. And, a lot of people get really discouraged. They put so much effort into their health and wellness, let's say for 30 days. And at the end of 30 days, they don't see progress. But, when you're able to really look back and again, quantify your effort, how many days of the month did I actually hit my protein? How many workouts did I get in? How many days did I have quality sleep? How many days did I not drink alcohol? You can see, it's like, well, yeah, no wonder I didn't lose weight. I wasn't consistent. And that's what it's about. When I track alcohol every month because I love to drink and I really do try to, focus on 20%. It is very eye-opening to look at that and see, where it falls from month to month and season to season. I tend to drink more in the summertime than I do in the winter, type of thing. So you can just really kind of get to the month and say, these are the areas I need to focus more on. And these are the areas that I'm doing really well in.
That's great. Do you have like a go-to meal, something that if you haven't done the food prep or, something that what's your quick and easy that you got to get something on the table?
I have 3. Okay. And you should too. Okay. Number 1, Brenner, breakfast for dinner. It is a fan favorite. Okay. And I usually make a big veggie omelet, but for my kids, I'll make bacon and eggs, throw a couple biscuits in, maybe make some high protein pancakes, super simple. So Brenner is always a fan favorite in my house. Number 2 is tacos. Who doesn't love tacos? And it's so simple to make. And again, I will typically make a huge taco salad. So I have lettuce and onions and peppers and guac and, all the food groups involved in that. And then my kids will get, taco shells and kind of whatever, super simple. And then the last one is pasta. So I'll do a meaty marinara sauce with a jar pasta. Most of the time, I'm going to eat my pasta either with an edamame pasta, which is a really high protein plant-based pasta. It's really high fiber, tastes just like pasta because I aim to be gluten-free. Or I'm going to put mine over spaghetti squash or zoodles. Again, I'm always focused on how am I going to get my vegetables in this meal? It's going to be the biggest thing on my plate on top of how am I going to get my protein? So a nice pasta meal, tacos, and Brenner, pretty much we're eating every week.
Okay. All right. And what kind of pasta did you say you like?
So I use an edamame-based pasta. Yes. Yeah. It's from Sea Point, loaded with fiber, loaded with protein, tastes amazing.
Chris and I have talked about that when you start going with the gluten-free pasta, it sometimes you still have to like what you're eating.
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, my kids eat gluten-free pasta, and that's the one thing that I've been able to switch out in my house pretty effortlessly. There doesn't seem to be any, they can't tell the difference. Now,
right.
If you're getting like red lentil, cauliflower pasta, yeah, that ain't gonna work, So I try to just stick to the basic gluten-free pasta, but I love the Banza, the chickpea pasta, I think is really good. But when we're talking about high fiber, high protein, those are very two keys that I always look for, check out that edamame pasta. Edamame is another word for soybean. So,
boy, you sure know a lot, obviously, about nutrition. And I'm just wondering, from a background standpoint, how did you get started? I mean, why did you decide to go into nutrition and helping others?
Well, it's kind of a sad and interesting story. I actually came to the University of Kentucky and I wanted to be a physical therapist. And I came to my orientation and the dean of the physical therapy school said, we take one out-of-state student a year, so you might as well change your major.
Oh my gosh.
I listened to him and I did. And it's sad that I listened to him and I did change my major because I didn't want to leave school. But I did have a huge passion for just overall health and wellness. I was a gymnast growing up. And so I said, let's go into nutrition, dietetics. And I would say when I went into the field, it was a very underutilized field. It still is very underutilized. The power of changing what you eat and the impact it has on your health. Again, it's foundational work. There's no disease state out there that can't be improved with diet first and foremost, before taking like a pill or something. So yeah, I mean, that's how I got into it. And I am just, some people go on vacation and they read romance novels on the beach. I go on vacation and I read nutrition books. So I'm constantly not satisfied with the answers that I'm given by mainstream media. My own personal battle with high cholesterol really led me down kind of like an alternative nutrition rabbit hole where I began to recommend butter and eggs and, kind of go against the grain. And ever since then, I just want to learn as much as I can, share that with others and make it simple, like not make it so hard that people just don't start. And that's what I see over and over.
That's great. Thank you.
We already talked about the importance of strength training, but do you have any kind of exercise program that you recommend for people?
Well, lean. So we do have a whole exercise portion.
Do you?
Yes. I offer modified workouts. I say, if you can sit in a chair and stand up, you can do my modified workouts, because sitting in a chair and standing up is an exercise. As we age, I'm here to tell you, your inability to transfer is what predicts your death greater than anything. And when we talk about transfer, we talk about your ability to sit in a chair and stand up, get in and out of a car, sit on a toilet and stand up. That's a squat. Okay. That's a muscle issue. So the more you can do even just functional training, like that, the more it's going to extend your longevity. So yeah, I mean, we have a modified, a beginner and advanced program, but there are so many resources out there. Start with YouTube, just simple. Again, maybe you're at a point where you're like, I'm going to have to do chair exercises. Start there, build yourself up. But there's lots of great resources just on that one site that can kind of get you going. And again, I'm of the mindset something's better than nothing. So if you pick 2 15-minute strength training workouts to do a week, even one would be better than none.
Right. Thank you.
So you mentioned that small habits add up for big results. And what habits do you suggest to your clients?
Simple things like adequate hydration, optimizing electrolytes, making sleep a priority, increasing your step count, eating lots of whole foods, lots of vegetables, less processed foods, like simple things. Big global things can make a much bigger impact than, again, like nitty gritty stuff.
I understand you have some free downloadable guides for people about health and nutrition and lifestyle strategies.
A ton on my website. And I'm going to send you my resource link. And Great. That's where your listeners can go download my free guide to intermittent fasting, my free guide to making meal planning simple, my free guide to the holidays, my free guide to alcohol, my free habit tracker. Tons of great resources that you can download and utilize in your daily life.
Perfect.
I have a problem. Like when I started my online business, I took a bunch of business courses and they'd say, Amanda, this is your strategy to, grow your program. Give a little and make them pay for the rest. And I suck at that. I just give you everything. But what I do, what the power that I bring with working with me is I give you the support and accountability you need to follow through with these strategies. So in most cases, maybe I've taught you something new here today. I sure hope so. But in most cases, what I have to teach you is not crazy new stuff. But what I'm going to teach you is how to make it simple and also support you while you're doing it, answer your questions. And last, I'm going to keep you accountable. I'm going to make sure you follow through with your goals.
Okay. We will post the link to the resources, but if people want to follow you online or find your website, what is your website and your social media IDs?
Well, my name's Amanda Nighbert. It's Night without the T, so Nighbert. Most of my social media handles are Amanda Nighbert RD, AmandaNighbert.com. So you'll find all those links on my website.
Perfect. Great. Thank you.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you today. I really appreciate all this information and really have enjoyed having you as a guest. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. I loved being here and I hope your listeners learned something.
Oh, I'm sure they will. Thank you so much. It's been really great.
Yeah, we'll talk again soon. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks for having me.
So this is a really minor thing, but one of the things I am taking away from today's talk is Amanda's quick meals, having pasta with the high protein edamame pasta and having breakfast for dinner. Both ideas are fantastic.
Yeah. What did she call that? Brenner? That was great.
Brenner, yeah.
Yeah. I really love that. And I think the thing I enjoyed so much about talking with Amanda, she combines both fitness and nutrition, which is something that I always am struggling to do. She really knows a lot about what she's talking about. And I loved how she outlined some of the things that sleep and reducing inflammation and increasing muscle mass. Like if you just had to do a few things to focus on, she really breaks down to the basics. And I like that.
Yeah, that was good. It gets challenging to, you start focusing on working out or running or bicycling or whatever. We start focusing on the fitness, and then it's easy to not necessarily focus on the food as much, but they really are entwined. And I thought she did a good job of sort of helping us see our way to that.
Yeah. Yeah. She's really neat. That was great. And I hope some of you who are listening will let us know what you've been doing to stay fit and strong and what motivates and inspires you. We'd love to continue this conversation.
Yes. Just leave us a message on our website, becomingellie.com, or on our Facebook page.
We also have a phone number where you can call and leave us a voicemail message. That number is 330-970-6662.
If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. You can do that wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, please tell your friends about us and show them how to access podcasts if you need to.
I hope you'll consider joining our Becoming Ellie Facebook group. It's a great way to support each other and help us all to find more inspiration.
You can also be sure to subscribe at our website for updates on all things Becoming Ellie. You can find lots of great information and things to download there.
Thanks for listening. Join us for the next episode of Fit Strong Women Over 50.
Yep. See you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.